The altar should have been her throne. Instead, it became her grave. Elena Varelli stood before 300 witnesses in blood-stained silk and diamonds that cost more than most lives, waiting for a man who looked at her like she was already dead. Adrian Moretti didn't flinch when he said the words that shattered her world. No apology, no mercy, just cold calculation in a $10,000 suit. In the underworld, rejection isn't embarrassment, it's execution. This is the story of how she rose from the ashes he left behind. Stay until the end. Hit like and comment your city, so I can see how far this story travels. The Vincenzo estate smelled like money and murder. Elena knew the difference. Money was the imported roses flown in from Ecuador, each stem cut at 45 degrees and placed in crystal vases worth more than a car. Murder was the faint copper tang underneath, the kind that never quite washed out of old family homes, no matter how many renovations you did. She stood in the bridal suite on the 3rd floor, staring at her reflection in a mirror that had probably witnessed a dozen crimes. The dress was a masterpiece, ivory silk that moved like water, hand-beaded with pearls that caught the light every time she breathed. It had taken 3 people 4 hours to get her into it. "You look beautiful," her mother said from somewhere behind her. Elena didn't respond. Beautiful wasn't the point. The point was power. Alliance. The merging of 2 families that controlled everything from the docks to the courts to the cops who pretended not to notice when bodies showed up in the river. Her mother, Carla Virelli, stepped closer. She was 53 and still stunning in the way women who've survived dangerous men often were, sharp edges wrapped in expensive fabric. "Are you ready? Does it matter?" "No." Her mother's honesty was almost refreshing. "But I'm asking anyway." Elena turned from the mirror. "How did you do it? Walk down that aisle knowing what it meant?" Carla smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I pretended I was someone else, someone brave." She adjusted the veil with careful fingers. "And then one day, I woke up and realized I wasn't pretending anymore. What if I don't want to be brave? Then you'll be dead, or worse, irrelevant." Her mother's hand rested on her shoulder. "This world doesn't forgive weakness, Elena. It doesn't even notice it long enough to forgive." 3 floors below, the chapel was filling with everyone who mattered. Crime families from Boston, New York, Chicago. They'd all sent representatives. Some sent their heirs. The Morettis controlled the East Coast port operations. The Varellis controlled the financial networks that made dirty money clean. Together, they'd be unstoppable. Apart, they'd tear each other to pieces within a year. That was what made this wedding so critical. Not love, not even respect, just pure survival calculus. Elena had met Adrian Moretti exactly 4 times before today. The first time, she was 19 and he was 26. Some charity gala her father had dragged her to. One of those events where criminals dressed up and pretended to care about orphans or cancer or whatever cause made them look human. Adrian had been across the room, talking to a senator who was definitely on someone's payroll. He'd looked at her once, just once, and she'd felt it like a brand. The second time was at a funeral. Whose she couldn't remember now. Someone important enough that attendance was mandatory. He'd worn black and stood in the rain without an umbrella, watching the casket lower into the ground with an expression that said absolutely nothing. The third time was at her father's birthday party. Adrian had brought a bottle of scotch older than she was and talked business in the study for 3 hours. She'd served drinks, playing hostess because her mother was conveniently ill, and he'd thanked her with the kind of politeness you give strangers. The fourth time, he'd asked her to marry him. Well, asked was generous. Her father had called her into his office. Adrian was there, sitting in the leather chair across from the desk, looking like he owned the building. Maybe he did. Ownership was complicated in their world. "Elena," her father had said, "Mr. Moretti has made a proposal." She'd looked between them, waiting for the punchline. "The families would benefit from a formal alliance," Adrian said. His voice was deep, controlled, the kind of voice that didn't ask for things because it didn't have to. A marriage would cement that relationship, provide stability. "You're asking me to marry you. I'm proposing a strategic partnership. Those are different things. Not in our world." Her father had watched this exchange with the expression of a man who'd already made the decision and was just waiting for everyone else to catch up. "You'll have time to consider," he'd said, which was a lie. The answer was yes. It had always been yes. The only question was whether she'd fight about it first. She hadn't fought. What would have been the point? Now, standing in a dress that cost more than most people's houses, Elena wondered if that had been a mistake. If she should have screamed, thrown things, run. But running wasn't an option when your last name was Virelli. You didn't run. You stood your ground, and you smiled, and you pretended the cage was a throne. "It's time," someone said. Elena turned. Her maid of honor, her cousin Bianca, stood in the doorway, looking uncomfortable in a bridesmaid dress the color of champagne. Bianca hated formal events. She also hated Adrian Moretti, though she'd never said why. "You don't have to do this," Bianca whispered as they walked toward the stairs. "Yes, I do. He's dangerous. Everyone's dangerous. Not like him." Elena stopped at the top of the grand staircase. Below she could hear music, guests finding their seats, the low murmur of conversation that meant business was being conducted even now, even here, because business never stopped. "What did he do to you?" Elena asked quietly. Bianca looked away. "Nothing. He doesn't even know I exist. That's the problem. I don't understand." "You will." The processional music started before Elena could ask what that meant. Her father appeared at her elbow, Antonio Virelli, 61 years old and still capable of making men twice his size nervous. He offered his arm. She took it. "Proud of you, princess," he murmured as they descended the stairs. "For doing what you told me to do? For doing it without complaining." The chapel doors were open. 300 people turned to look at her. Elena lifted her chin and walked forward, each step measured, perfect. She'd practiced this. Knew exactly how fast to move, where to look, when to smile. She didn't look at the faces, didn't want to see the calculation in their eyes, trying to determine if this alliance would benefit them or destroy them. Didn't want to see the women who'd failed to snag Adrian themselves, watching her with envy or pity or both. She looked at the altar. Adrian stood there in a tuxedo that had definitely been tailored specifically for him. He was 33 now, and he wore power the way other men wore cologne, like something that had always been there, inseparable from his skin. Dark hair, dark eyes, a face that would have been handsome if it wasn't so carefully controlled. He was watching her approach with an expression she couldn't read. The walk down the aisle took forever. Also 30 seconds. Time did strange things at moments like this, stretched and compressed until Elena wasn't sure if she'd been walking for hours or if she'd teleported from the doors to the altar in a single breath. Her father placed her hand in Adrian's. His fingers were cold. The priest started talking. Elena didn't hear most of it. Something about commitment and partnership and unity. The words all sounded the same, formal, ancient, meaningless. This wasn't about faith or devotion. This was about contracts written in blood instead of ink. "Do you, Adrian Moretti, take this woman?" "I do." His voice was steady, automatic. "And do you, Elena Virelli, take this man?" This was it. The moment. She could say no. Could turn and run and damn the consequences. Her father would kill her, probably. Or disown her. Same thing, in their world. But she'd be free. The chapel was completely silent. Elena opened her mouth. "Stop." The word didn't come from her. It came from Adrian. The priest faltered. "I'm sorry?" Adrian's hand dropped from Elena's. He took a step back, then another. "I can't do this," he said. The silence shattered into something worse. Shocked whispers, gasps, the scrape of chairs as people leaned forward to make sure they were seeing what they thought they were seeing. Elena stood frozen. Adrian looked at her directly for the first time all day. "I'm sorry," he said, and he almost sounded like he meant it. This was a mistake. "What?" The word came out strangled, small, not her voice at all. "This marriage, this alliance, all of it." He was already moving toward the side exit, his second in command, a man named Marcus, who looked like he'd swallowed glass, falling into step behind him. "It won't work. Adrian," her father's voice, sharp as a knife. Adrian didn't turn around. Send my apologies to your family. And hers. Then he was gone. Elena stood at the altar in her $10,000 dress, holding a bouquet of imported roses, watching the man she was supposed to marry walk away without a backward glance. 300 people watched her stand there. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The humiliation was so complete, so absolute, that for a moment Elena couldn't even feel it. She was numb, distant, like she was watching this happen to someone else. Then the whispers started. Did he just... Oh my God. The Morettis planned this. No, the Varellis. It's an insult. It's a declaration of war. Elena's mother appeared at her side, gripping her elbow hard enough to bruise. Smile, she hissed. What? Smile. Now. Like this was planned. Elena tried. Her face wouldn't cooperate. The muscles didn't work right. Her father stepped forward, raising his hands. Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a misunderstanding. But the crowd was already moving, some toward the exits, others clustering in groups, phones appearing, calls being made. Within minutes, every family on the East Coast would know what happened here. Elena Varelli, rejected at the altar. The Varelli-Moretti alliance, dead before it started. War, inevitable. Bianca pulled her away from the altar, through a side door, into a preparation room that smelled like candle wax and old wood. Elena's legs gave out. She sat hard on a wooden bench, the dress pooling around her like a collapsed parachute. Breathe, Bianca said. Elena couldn't. In, out, come on. He just... She couldn't finish the sentence. I know. In front of everyone. I know. Why would he... The door slammed open. Elena's father stormed in, his face the color of old brick. What did you do? Elena looked up at him. What did I do? You must have said something, done something. I didn't. We barely spoke. Ever. I don't... The words tangled in her throat. Her mother appeared behind her father, calmer, but no less furious. Antonio, this isn't her fault. Then whose fault is it? The Morettis don't insult us like this without reason. Maybe they do. Carla's voice was ice. Maybe Adrian Moretti is exactly what everyone says he is, a coward who can't commit to anything except his own power. Antonio turned on his wife. Don't. Why not? He humiliated our daughter in front of the entire underworld. He destroyed an alliance that took 6 months to negotiate. And for what? Because he got cold feet? Because he decided at the last possible second that he didn't want to go through with it? There's more to this. Then figure it out. But don't you dare blame Elena. They argued. Elena stopped listening. She stared at the floor, expensive hardwood, polished to a mirror shine, and tried to understand what had just happened. She'd been prepared for a lot of things. A loveless marriage, a husband who kept mistresses. Violence, maybe, if she stepped wrong or said the wrong thing at the wrong time. She'd been prepared to be a wife the way her mother was a wife. Decorative, strategic, useful. She had not been prepared to be rejected. In their world, rejection wasn't just personal. It was political. A message. A statement. Adrian Moretti had stood in front of 300 witnesses and said, "This woman isn't worth it." The underworld would hear that loud and clear. Hours later, Elena sat in her childhood bedroom, still in the wedding dress because she couldn't figure out how to get out of it alone, and she couldn't bear to ask for help. Her phone was on the dresser. She'd turned it off after the first 100 messages. Someone knocked on the door. "Go away," Elena said. The door opened anyway. Bianca slipped inside carrying a bottle of vodka and 2 glasses. "I said, I know what you said." Bianca sat on the edge of the bed, poured 2 generous drinks, and handed one to Elena. "Drink. I don't want 8. Drink." Elena drank. The vodka burned going down, sharp and clean. She finished the glass. Bianca refilled it immediately. "Everyone's gone," Bianca said after a moment. "Good. Your father's in his study. I think he's making calls." "To who?" "Everyone. Anyone. He's trying to control the narrative." Elena laughed. It came out harsh, bitter, There's no controlling this. Adrian Moretti rejected me at the altar. That's the story. That's the only story. Maybe, not maybe, definitely. She drank again. The room was starting to blur at the edges. I'm ruined. You're not. Yes, I am. You know how this works. Women in our world, we're currency, assets. And I just lost all my value. Bianca didn't argue because she couldn't. They both knew the truth. In the underworld, a woman's worth was tied to her usefulness, her connections, her family, her marriage. Elena had just become useless. What are you going to do? Bianca asked quietly. I don't know. You could leave. And go where? Do what? Everything I have, everything I am, it's tied to this family, this life. Elena looked at her cousin. I don't know how to be anything else. Then learn. It's not that simple, isn't it? They sat in silence for a while, passing the bottle back and forth. Outside, night fell over the estate. The house that had been full of noise and people and music just hours ago was now quiet, empty. Elena's phone buzzed, then again, and again. She turned it on. Texts from numbers she didn't recognize, social media notifications, news alerts. Someone had leaked photos from the wedding. No, not just photos. Video. Someone had filmed the entire disaster and posted it online. She watched herself stand at the altar, watched Adrian walk away, watched her face crumple in real time. 3 million views. Oh, God, Elena whispered. Bianca grabbed the phone, read the screen, and threw it across the room. It hit the wall and cracked, but kept buzzing. Ignore it, Bianca said. How? You just do. But Elena couldn't, because in that moment, watching the video play on a loop in her mind, she understood something crucial. Adrian Moretti hadn't just rejected her. He'd destroyed her, and he'd done it deliberately, publicly, in the most humiliating way possible. The question was, why? 2 weeks passed. Elena didn't leave the house, didn't answer calls, didn't read the messages that kept flooding in, some sympathetic, most not. The families were choosing sides. Some blamed the Morettis for the insult. Others blamed the Virellis for whatever they must have done to deserve it. Nobody blamed Adrian. In their world, powerful men didn't get blamed for anything. Her father's business took hits, deals fell through, partners got nervous, alliances shifted, all because his daughter had been rejected at the altar. On day 15, Elena woke up angry, not sad, not humiliated, angry. She got dressed for the first time in 2 weeks, not in morning black or comfortable sweats, but in a tailored suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. She did her makeup, fixed her hair, looked in the mirror and saw someone who resembled the girl she'd been before the wedding. Then she went downstairs and told her father she was going out. Where? Antonio looked up from his newspaper, surprised to see her functional. To get answers. Elena, I'm not asking permission. She left before he could argue. The driver, a man named Paulo, who'd worked for the family for 20 years, didn't ask questions when she gave him the address. He just drove. Moretti territory was in the harbor district. Warehouses and shipping companies and businesses that definitely weren't importing what the paperwork claimed. The main office was in a converted factory, all exposed brick and expensive renovations that screamed money. Elena walked in like she owned the place. The receptionist looked up, startled. Miss Virelli, I'm here to see Adrian. He's not... Tell him I'm here. Tell him I'm not leaving until he talks to me. The receptionist picked up the phone, murmured something, listened, hung up. He says, I don't care what he says, I'll wait. Elena sat in one of the leather chairs and crossed her legs. The receptionist looked nervous. Good. 5 minutes passed, then 10. On minute 15, Marcus appeared, the same second-in-command who'd followed Adrian out of the chapel. He looked even less happy to see her than the receptionist had. Miss Virelli, he said carefully. Mr. Moretti is very busy. Then he can make time. I don't think you understand. No, you don't understand. Elena stood. Your boss humiliated me in front of 300 people, destroyed my family's reputation, started what might become a very expensive war. The least The very least he can do is look me in the eye and explain why. Marcus studied her. She met his gaze without flinching. "Follow me," he finally said. They went up 3 floors, down a hallway with artwork that was probably stolen, through a door into an office that took up the entire corner of the building. Adrian sat behind a desk the size of a small car, reading something on his laptop. He didn't look up when they entered. "Sir," Marcus said, "Miss Varelli is here. I can see that. She insisted." "That's fine. You can go." Marcus hesitated, then left, closing the door behind him. Elena and Adrian stared at each other. He looked exactly the same as he had at the wedding. Same expensive suit, same controlled expression, same dark eyes that gave away absolutely nothing. "You have 5 minutes," he said. "Why?" "I'm a busy man." "Not what I'm asking." Elena stepped closer to the desk. "Why did you do it?" "You'll have to be more specific." "Don't!" Her voice shook. "Don't play games. You know exactly what I'm asking. Why did you walk away?" Adrian closed his laptop, leaned back in his chair. "Because I realized the marriage was a mistake. You realized that at the altar. You couldn't have figured it out earlier, during the 6 months of negotiations? During the 4 times we met? Any point before I was standing in front of 300 people in a wedding dress? I could have, I should have, but I didn't." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting." Elena felt the anger crystallize into something sharp and cold. "You destroyed me. I ended an arrangement that wouldn't have worked. You humiliated me. That wasn't my intention. I don't care about your intentions. I care about the consequences." She was gripping the edge of his desk now, leaning forward. "Do you have any idea what you've done? What my life has been like for the past 2 weeks? I can imagine. No, you can't. Because you're Adrian Moretti. You're untouchable. You walk away from a wedding and people call it decisive, strategic. I get left at the altar and I'm a joke. A cautionary tale. The girl who wasn't good enough." Something flickered in his expression, too fast to identify. "I'm sorry," he said. "Sorry doesn't fix this." "I know." "Then what does?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Nothing," he finally said. "There's nothing that fixes this. And I'm sorry for that too." Elena wanted to scream, wanted to throw something, wanted to make him feel even a fraction of what she'd felt standing at that altar. Instead, she straightened, smoothed her jacket, looked him dead in the eye. "You're a coward," she said quietly. His jaw tightened. "Excuse me?" "Oh, you heard me. You're a coward. You run when things get difficult. You hide behind logic and strategy because you're afraid of anything real." "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough. I know you'd rather destroy someone else than risk being vulnerable yourself." She turned toward the door. "That's pathetic." "Elena?" She didn't stop, didn't look back. Marcus was waiting in the hallway. He escorted her to the elevator without speaking. The ride down felt like falling. When Elena stepped outside, Paulo was there with the car. She got in. "Home, miss?" he asked. Elena looked at the building, at the windows that probably hid Adrian, watching her leave the same way he'd left her. "No," she said. "Take me to the club." "Which? Any club. I don't care." She needed noise, people, something to drown out the sound of Adrian's voice saying, "I'm sorry," like it meant anything. The car pulled away from the curb. Elena didn't look back. The club was exactly what Elena needed. Loud enough that thinking was impossible, dark enough that nobody recognized her, crowded enough that she could disappear into the mass of bodies and forget she existed. She drank. Not elegantly. Not the way she'd been taught at Cotillion when she was 12, sipping champagne like it might bite back. She drank like she was trying to drown something. Bianca found her around midnight, pulled her off the dance floor where she'd been moving to music she couldn't even hear anymore, and shoved her into a bathroom that reeked of expensive perfume and cheaper decisions. "What the hell are you doing?" Bianca demanded. Elena laughed. The sound bounced off the tile walls, manic and wrong. "Living. This isn't living. This is a breakdown in heels." "Same thing." "Elena, I went to see him." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. I went to his office and I asked him why, and you know what he said? Nothing. Absolutely nothing that mattered. Just sorry, 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 like that word means anything. Bianca gripped her shoulders. You need to go home. I need to disappear. That's the vodka talking. No, it's me talking. For the first time in weeks, it's actually me. Elena pulled away, checked her makeup in the mirror. Her eyeliner had smudged. She looked like a different person. Maybe she was. I'm tired, Bianca. Tired of being the good daughter, the perfect alliance, the girl who does what she's told and smiles while she does it. So what are you going to do? Drink yourself unconscious in a nightclub? That'll show everyone. Maybe. Elena, you don't get it. None of you get it. I spent my whole life preparing to be someone's wife. That was my job, my purpose. And in 30 seconds, Adrian took that away. So what am I now? What's left? Bianca didn't have an answer. Elena fixed her makeup, reapplied her lipstick, a shade of red that looked like violence, and walked back into the club. She made it 3 more hours before security found her passed out in a VIP booth. The next morning arrived with a headache that felt like divine punishment and a phone that wouldn't stop ringing. Elena ignored both, buried her face in the pillow, and tried to remember why she'd thought last night was a good idea. Someone pounded on her bedroom door. Go away, she groaned. The door opened anyway. Her father stood there holding a newspaper. His expression said everything she needed to know about how bad this was going to be. Care to explain? He threw the paper on her bed. Elena sat up slowly, the room spinning, picked up the newspaper. Front page of the society section, a photo of her, mascara streaked, being escorted out of the club by security. The headline read, Varelli heiress in drunken spiral after wedding disaster. Fantastic, she muttered. Is that all you have to say? What do you want me to say, that I'm sorry? I'm not. Her father's face darkened. You're making this worse. I'm making it worse? I'm not the one who walked away at the altar. I'm not the one who destroyed our family's reputation. That was Adrian, but somehow I'm the one getting punished for it. You're getting punished because you're acting like a child. Elena stood, ignoring the way the world tilted. I'm acting like someone whose life just imploded. Forgive me if I'm not handling it with grace. Grace is all we have left. Then we have nothing. They stared at each other. Her father looked older suddenly, the lines around his eyes deeper, his shoulders slumped in a way she'd never seen before. They're circling, he said quietly. Who? Everyone. The families who thought they could trust us, the ones who saw this alliance as stability. They're questioning everything now. Deals are falling apart. Territory is being challenged. He sat heavily on the edge of her bed. We're vulnerable. Elena felt something cold settle in her stomach. How vulnerable? The kind where people start thinking they can make moves they wouldn't have dared before. Because of me. Because of the situation, which, yes, involves you. He looked up at her. I need you to disappear for a while. What? Go stay with your aunt in California, or your grandmother in Maine, somewhere far from here. Let this blow over. You're sending me away. I'm protecting you. You're hiding me. There's a difference. Her father stood. Does it matter? Either way, you're a target now. The Morettis rejected us publicly. Other families will see that as permission to what? Come after me? Kill me? Maybe. Probably not. But definitely to use you as leverage if things escalate. He moved toward the door. Pack a bag. You leave tonight. No. He stopped. Excuse me? I said no. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. If people want to come after me, let them. But I'm not going to disappear because Adrian Moretti decided I wasn't worth his time. Elena, I'm done, Dad. Done being the obedient daughter. Done letting other people decide what happens to me. She crossed her arms. I'm staying. This isn't a negotiation. You're right, it's not. They faced off. Elena could see the calculation in her father's eyes, weighing whether forcing her was worth the fight it would cause. The decision was made for him. Downstairs, something crashed, shouting, gunfire. Her father's hand went to the weapon he always carried. Stay here. He was gone before she could argue. Elena stood frozen for maybe 3 seconds. Then she moved to her closet, pulled out the gun her mother had taught her to shoot when she was 16, and followed her father downstairs. The house was chaos. Men in suits, not theirs, had breached the front entrance. Her father's security was engaged, but they were outnumbered. Badly. Elena took cover behind a marble pillar, her heart trying to punch through her ribs. She'd been around violence her whole life. It was impossible not to be in their world, but she'd never been in the middle of it. Someone grabbed her from behind. She spun, gun raised, finger on the trigger. Marcus, Adrian's second in command, held up his hands. "Don't shoot! What the hell are you doing here? Saving your life. Come on!" He pulled her toward the kitchen, away from the fighting. Elena stumbled after him, too confused to resist. "Who are they?" she demanded. "The Castellanos. They're making a move while your family's weak." "How did you—" "We had intel. Adrian sent me to extract you." Elena jerked her arm free. "Adrian sent you? Are you kidding me right now? We can argue about it later. Right now we need to move." More gunfire. Closer this time. Marcus grabbed her hand and ran. They made it to the garage. Marcus shoved her into an SUV with tinted windows and armored panels. The engine was already running. "What about my father?" Elena asked as Marcus peeled out. "He can handle himself. You're the target." "Why?" "Because you're leverage. The Castellanos take you. They can negotiate. Or worse." He took a corner too fast. Elena braced against the door. Adrian didn't want that to happen. "Since when does Adrian care what happens to me?" Marcus didn't answer. They drove in silence for 20 minutes, taking back roads Elena didn't recognize. Finally, Marcus pulled into an underground garage beneath a building Elena had never seen before. "Where are we?" "Safe house, come on." The apartment was on the top floor, expensive but anonymous. The kind of place you kept for emergencies or mistresses or both. Adrian was waiting inside. Elena stopped in the doorway. "You've got to be kidding me." "Close the door," Adrian said. He was standing by the window looking out at the city. Still in a suit, always in a suit. Marcus pushed past her, closed the door, and disappeared into another room. Elena and Adrian stared at each other. "Your father is fine," Adrian said after a moment. "The attack was contained. 3 casualties, none of them yours." "How generous of the Castellanos." "It wasn't generosity, it was a message." "What message?" "That your family is vulnerable, that alliances can shift, that what I did at the wedding has consequences." Elena laughed. It came out harsh. "Oh, now you care about consequences." "I always cared about consequences. That's why I ended it." "Ended what?" "We never started. We were an arrangement, a contract." She moved further into the apartment, needing distance from him. "But you couldn't even honor that. You had to humiliate me instead." "I didn't mean to humiliate you." "What did you think would happen? You walk away at the altar in front of 300 people and I'd, what, thank you for your honesty?" Adrian turned from the window. "I thought you'd be angry. I thought you'd move on. I didn't think—" He stopped. "Didn't think what?" "That they'd come after you." Elena stared at him. "You didn't think rejecting me would make me a target? In our world? Are you that naive or just that stupid?" "I thought your father would protect you." "He tried, and then the Castellanos showed up at our house with enough firepower to start a small war." She was shaking now, adrenaline and rage mixing into something volatile. "This is your fault." "I know." "Knowing doesn't fix it." "I know that too." "Then why am I here? Why did you send Marcus? Why do you care what happens to me?" Adrian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, rougher, less controlled. "Because despite everything, I don't want you dead." "How noble." "It's not nobility, it's guilt." "Good. You should feel guilty." "I do." They stood there, the apartment silent except for the sound of traffic far below. Elena could feel her control fraying, all the composure she'd rebuilt over the past 2 weeks crumbling under the weight of everything that had happened in the last hour. "I can't go home," she said finally. "Not yet. My father is cleaning up. Marcus is coordinating with his security. The Castellanos made their move and failed. They won't try again tonight, but they'll try again. Probably. Elena sat down hard on the couch. Her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. So what now? I hide here? For how long? Adrian moved closer but didn't sit. Until we figure out a solution. We? Your family and mine. There is no alliance. You made sure of that. No, but there's still mutual interest in preventing a war. Elena looked up at him. You don't get to play hero now. You don't get to swoop in and save me from the mess you created. I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm trying to fix a mistake. You can't fix this. Maybe not, but I can try. The door to the other room opened. Marcus appeared, phone in hand. Sir, we have a situation. Adrian's expression shifted immediately. Back to business, back to control. What kind? The Castellanos are making noise, claiming the Varellis attacked them first. They're trying to spin this. Of course they are. Adrian looked at Elena. I need to make some call. Stay here. Don't leave. Don't contact anyone. You can't just... Please. The words sounded foreign in his mouth. Just for tonight. Stay here where I know you're safe. He left before she could argue. Elena sat alone in the safe house, listening to Adrian's voice through the wall as he made call after call, trying to contain the fallout from a decision he'd made at an altar 3 weeks ago. She wanted to hate him. The problem was, she wasn't sure she knew how. The night stretched on. Marcus brought her food she didn't eat and water she barely touched. Elena paced the apartment, her mind racing. Around 3 a.m, Adrian emerged from the other room looking like he'd aged a decade. It's contained, he said. For now. What does that mean? It means the Castellanos are backing off. They know they overreached. And my family? Your father is furious at them, at me, probably at you too, for leaving with Marcus. Elena laughed without humor. Great. Adrian sat down across from her. For the first time since she'd known him, he looked tired. Human. I need to tell you something, he said. I'm really not in the mood for more revelations. The reason I walked away. At the wedding. Elena went still. You said it was a mistake, but... It was. But not the way you think. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I didn't walk away because I didn't want to marry you. I walked away because I did. She stared at him. That makes no sense. I know, but it's true. He ran a hand through his hair, messing it up for the first time she'd ever seen. The 4th time we met. When I asked you, when I proposed the arrangement, you looked at me like I was insane. You were asking me to marry you like it was a business meeting, because that's what it was supposed to be. Strategic, simple, safe. He met her eyes. But somewhere between that conversation and the wedding, it stopped feeling strategic. It started feeling real, and that terrified me. Elena felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. You're saying you walked away because you caught feelings? Like we're in high school? I'm saying I walked away because in our world, caring about someone makes them a target, makes you vulnerable. And I'd spent my entire life building walls to prevent exactly that. His voice was rough. But then you were standing there at the altar in that dress, and I realized if we went through with it, I'd have to protect you, really protect you. Not just as a strategy, but because He stopped. Because you what? Because I couldn't stand the thought of something happening to you. Elena's brain was short-circuiting. So your solution was to publicly humiliate me? To make me a target anyway? I wasn't thinking clearly. I panicked. And by the time I realized what I'd done, the damage was already complete. You're unbelievable. I know. No, I mean literally unbelievable. You expect me to believe that you walked away from our wedding because you cared too much? That's the most backward logic I've ever heard. It's the truth. The truth is you're a coward, just like I said. Elena stood. You were afraid of vulnerability, so you chose destruction instead. And now you want what? Forgiveness? Understanding? I want a second chance. The words hung in the air between them. Elena laughed. A second chance. Yes. To do what? Humiliate me again? Leave me at another altar? Create more situations where I get targeted by families trying to exploit your mistakes? To do it right this time. There is no right way to do this. Adrian stood, closing the distance between them. Then let's figure out the wrong way together. You're insane. Probably. I should hate you. You should. I do hate you. I know. They were close enough now that Elena could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated, could feel the heat coming off him. This is a terrible idea, she whispered. The worst, he agreed. She kissed him. Or he kissed her. Later, she wouldn't be able to say who moved first. It wasn't gentle, wasn't romantic. It was anger and adrenaline and 3 weeks of rage finding an outlet. Adrian's hands were in her hair. Elena's fingers dug into his shoulders hard enough to bruise through the expensive fabric. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Elena stepped back. That didn't mean anything, she said. Of course not. I still hate you. Understood. And I'm not giving you a second chance. I wouldn't expect you to. Good. She turned and walked into the bedroom, closing the door behind her. Locked it. Pressed her back against it and tried to remember how to breathe. On the other side, she heard Adrian move, heard him settle on the couch, heard the quiet sound of him making another phone call. Elena slid down to the floor and put her head in her hands. This was insane. All of it. She should demand to go home, should tell her father everything, should absolutely not be developing feelings for the man who'd destroyed her life, should not be wondering what would have happened if she hadn't walked away just now. Morning came too soon and too bright. Elena emerged from the bedroom to find Adrian on the phone again, looking crisp and controlled in a fresh suit. Like last night hadn't happened. Like she hadn't kissed him like the world was ending. Marcus was making coffee. Morning, he said, too cheerful for someone who'd orchestrated a rescue mission 12 hours ago. Morning, Elena muttered. Adrian ended his call. Your father wants to see you. When? Now. I'm taking you to him. You're taking me? We need to talk, all of us, about what happens next. Elena poured coffee, added sugar she didn't want just to have something to do with her hands. What is there to talk about? The Castellanos made their move. You helped stop it. We all go back to hating each other. Story over. It's not that simple. It never is with you. They drove to her father's estate in silence. Marcus drove. Elena sat in back with Adrian, careful not to let their legs touch in the confined space. The house looked like a crime scene, which technically it was. Broken glass. Bullet holes. Blood stains someone had tried and failed to completely clean. Her father was in his study, looking like he hadn't slept. Her mother stood behind him, one hand on his shoulder. They both looked up when Elena entered with Adrian. Explain, her father said. The Castellanos, Adrian started. Not you, Antonio's gaze fixed on his daughter. You. Why did you leave with his man? Because staying would have gotten me killed. You don't know that, don't I? There were 15 men with guns in our house, Dad. 15, and they were here for me. We could have protected you. You were already protecting everyone else. Silence. Her mother spoke. She's right, Antonio. Marcus got her out. That's what matters. What matters is why they came in the first place. Her father stood, moving around the desk. This attack happened because our alliance with the Morettis fell apart, because Adrian walked away and made us look weak. I know, Adrian said quietly. You know. And what do you plan to do about it? Rebuild the alliance. Elena's head snapped up. What? Adrian looked at her. I'm proposing we complete what we started. The marriage. The alliance. All of it. Absolutely not, Elena said immediately. It's the only way to restore stability. I don't care about stability. I care about not marrying someone who abandoned me at an altar. Which is why, this time, it'll be different. How? This time, it won't be just an arrangement. It'll be a partnership, real, equal. Elena stared at him. You have lost your mind. Her father was watching this exchange with an expression she couldn't read. You're serious, he said to Adrian, completely. And you think Elena will agree to this? I think Elena deserves a choice this time. A real one. all eyes turned to her. Elena felt trapped, cornered, like the walls were closing in and there was no exit. "You want me to marry you?" she said slowly, "after everything that's happened, after the humiliation, the attacks, all of it." "Yes." "Why?" "Because it's the right move strategically. Because our families need this alliance. Because," he paused, "because I made a mistake and I want to fix it. By making me marry you anyway. By asking, not forcing. And if I say no, then you say no. I'll find another way to stabilize things. It'll be messier and take longer, but I'll figure it out." Elena looked at her parents. Her mother's expression was carefully neutral. Her father's was calculating. "What do you want me to say?" she asked them. Her mother spoke first. "What do you want to say?" "That this is insane. That marrying Adrian would be the worst decision I could possibly make." "Would it?" her father asked. "You're seriously asking me that?" "I'm asking if you can see past the anger to what this could mean. For you, for our family." "For our family, of course," Elena laughed bitterly. "It's always about the family, never about me. Never about what I want or need or—" "What do you want?" Adrian asked. She turned on him. "I want to not be leverage. I want to not be a pawn in your power games. I want to matter as more than just a strategy." "Then marry me, and I'll make sure you do." "That's not how this works." "Then how does it work?" Elena didn't have an answer, because the truth, the terrible, complicated truth, was that some part of her wanted to say yes, wanted to believe that this time could be different, that Adrian meant what he said about partnership, about choice. But another part of her, the part that had stood at an altar and watched him walk away, knew better. Trust, once broken, didn't just heal because someone said sorry. "I need time," she said finally. Her father frowned. "Elena, no. If I'm going to make this decision, I'm going to make it for the right reasons. Not because I'm scared or angry or because it's what everyone else wants." She looked at Adrian. "You want me to choose? Then give me space to actually think about it." "How long?" he asked. "I don't know. A week. Maybe more. The Castellanos won't wait. Then handle them without using me as bait." Her voice was steel. "You're so powerful, Adrian. So strategic. Figure it out." She left the study before anyone could stop her. Bianca found her an hour later, sitting in the garden where they used to play as kids. "So, Bianca said, sitting down next to her. "You're considering it. How did you— You didn't say no. That means you're considering it." Elena pulled her knees to her chest. "Is that crazy?" "Probably. That's not reassuring." "You didn't ask for reassurance. You asked if it was crazy." Bianca bumped her shoulder. "For what it's worth, I think Adrian's telling the truth. About the fear thing." "You do?" "I've seen how he looks at you when he thinks nobody's watching. It's not strategic. It's terrified." "Great. I'm supposed to marry a man who's terrified of me. Not of you, of losing you. There's a difference." Bianca plucked at the grass. "The question is whether you can forgive him. Not for your family, not for the alliance, for you." Elena didn't answer. Because that was the question, wasn't it? Could she forgive Adrian for walking away? Could she trust him not to do it again? Could she build something real with someone who'd destroyed her so completely? And more importantly, did she want to? The week Elena asked for turned into 10 days of carefully orchestrated distance. Adrian didn't push, didn't call, didn't show up at the estate with more apologies or explanations. He gave her exactly what she'd demanded, space, which somehow made everything worse. Because now Elena had nothing to be angry at except her own confusion. She spent those 10 days trying to figure out what she actually wanted. Not what her father wanted, not what would be strategically sound. What she wanted. The problem was, she didn't know anymore. On day 11, her mother found her in the library at 2 in the morning, surrounded by books she wasn't reading. "Can't sleep?" Carla asked, settling into the chair across from her. "Haven't been able to for a while." Her mother was quiet for a moment, just watching her. "You know, when your father asked me to marry him, I said no." Elena looked up. "What?" "3 times, actually. He kept asking. I kept refusing. Why?" Because I was 22 and terrified, and I knew exactly what marrying into this life would mean. I'd watched my own mother navigate it, watched her smile through dinners with men who'd ordered hits on their rivals hours before, watched her bury friends who'd gotten caught in crossfire. Carla's gaze was distant. I didn't want that. So what changed? Your father got shot. Elena blinked. I didn't know that. It was before you were born. Some dispute over territory. Doesn't matter now. What matters is he almost died. And I realized that whether I married him or not, I cared. The caring was already there. I was just trying to pretend it wasn't. So you married him because you were scared of losing him? I married him because I was tired of running from something that was already real. Her mother leaned forward. The question you need to ask yourself isn't whether Adrian deserves a second chance. It's whether you can live with not taking the risk. That's not helpful. It's not supposed to be helpful. It's supposed to be honest. Carla stood. You have until tomorrow to decide. Why tomorrow? Because your father and Adrian have scheduled a meeting. They need an answer. After her mother left, Elena sat in the silence of the library and tried to imagine two futures. In one, she said no. Refused the marriage. Maybe left the city entirely. Started over somewhere her last name didn't carry weight. She'd be free. Unknown. Safe, probably. Also alone. In the other future, she said yes. Married Adrian, rebuilt the alliance, stepped back into a world that had already chewed her up once. But maybe, this time she'd be more than just a piece on someone else's board. Maybe she'd be a player. Elena closed her eyes and made her decision. The meeting was held at Neutral Ground, a restaurant owned by a family aligned with neither the Morettis nor the Virellis, the kind of place where business was conducted over expensive wine and everyone pretended the conversation wasn't being recorded. Elena arrived with her father. Adrian was already there, Marcus standing a respectful distance away. They took a private room in the back. Elena? Adrian said by way of greeting. He looked tired. Good. She hoped he'd been sleeping as badly as she had. Adrian. Her father glanced between them. Should we give you a moment? No, Elena said. Let's just get this over with. She sat down. Everyone else followed suit. I've made my decision, Elena said, addressing the table rather than any one person. I'll marry Adrian, but I have conditions. Her father's eyebrows rose. Adrian's expression remained carefully neutral. What conditions? Her father asked. First, this marriage is a partnership, equal say in all decisions that affect both families. I'm not a trophy or a symbol. I'm a partner. Adrian nodded slowly. Agreed. Second, if this falls apart, if you walk away again, if you humiliate me again, if you so much as think about using me as a pawn, I will destroy you. Not the alliance, not the families, you personally. Are we clear? Something flickered in Adrian's eyes. Respect, maybe. Or fear. Crystal. Third, we do this right. No rushed ceremony, no spectacle. Something private. Just our families. People we actually trust. That's reasonable, her father said. Elena turned to Adrian. And fourth, and this is non-negotiable, you tell me the truth about everything. Why you really walked away, what you're afraid of, all of it. Because I'm not building a marriage on lies and strategic omissions. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked at her father. Can we have the room? Antonio hesitated. Elena nodded. It's fine. Her father and Marcus left. The door closed with a soft click. Elena and Adrian sat across from each other, the table between them feeling like a mile. You want the truth, Os, Adrian said finally. That's what I said. The truth is my father built an empire on fear. He taught me that caring about anything makes you weak, that the moment you show vulnerability, someone will use it against you. He wasn't looking at her now, staring instead at his hands folded on the table. He had a wife, my mother. He loved her, actually loved her, not just strategically. And when I was 12, someone used that love to get to him. Elena felt her stomach drop. What happened? They took her, held her for 3 days, sent my father pieces of her jewelry with notes about what would happen if he didn't comply with their demands. Adrian's voice was flat, emotionless. He complied, gave them everything they wanted, and they killed her anyway. Adrian, I watched him after that, watched him become someone else, someone who didn't feel anything because feeling meant losing. And I promised myself I'd never let that happen to me. I'd never care about someone enough to break if they were taken away. So when you asked me to marry you, it was supposed to be strategic, business, something I could walk away from if it stopped making sense. He finally met her eyes. But somewhere between the proposal and the wedding, I realized I couldn't. I'd started caring, and that terrified me more than any threat the Castellanos or anyone else could make. So you ran. So I ran, like a coward, exactly like you said. He leaned forward. And in running, I created exactly the situation I was trying to avoid. I made you a target, put you in danger, hurt you. Yes, you did. I can't promise I won't make mistakes. I can't promise this will be easy or simple or anything close to normal. His hand moved across the table, stopping just short of touching hers. But I can promise I won't run again. Whatever happens, whatever I feel, I'll stay. Elena looked at his hand, at the space between them. What do you feel? She asked quietly. Right now? Right now. Terrified that you'll say yes and I'll mess it up. That you'll say no and I'll deserve it. That I've already broken something that can't be fixed. And if I say yes anyway, then I'll spend the rest of my life proving I meant what I said. About partnership, about staying. Elena took a breath. Let it out slowly. Then she reached across the table and closed the distance between their hands. Okay, she said. Okay? Okay. Adrian's fingers curled around hers. His hands were warm this time, not cold like they'd been at the altar. The wedding happened 3 weeks later, not at the Vincenzo estate with hundreds of witnesses and photographers and families jockeying for position. Instead, they used a small chapel on the outskirts of the city, the kind of place that had seen 100 weddings and didn't care about the names involved. Elena wore a different dress, simpler. Ivory again, because she'd actually liked the first one before it became associated with disaster. But this one didn't require 3 people to get into. This one she could breathe in. Bianca was her only bridesmaid. Marcus stood up for Adrian. Their parents sat in the front row. A handful of trusted allies filled the other seats, maybe 40 people total. The priest was the same one from the first ceremony, which Elena found darkly funny. He kept glancing at Adrian like he expected another interruption. It didn't come. This time, when the priest asked if Adrian took Elena to be his wife, Adrian said, "I do," without hesitation. When it was Elena's turn, she looked at the man she was about to marry, really looked at him, and saw fear and hope and determination all tangled together. "I do," she said. They kissed. It was brief, almost chaste. Nothing like the kiss in the safe house, but it felt like a promise. The reception was held at the same restaurant where Elena had laid out her conditions. Small, intimate, the kind of event where you could actually have conversations instead of performing for an audience. Elena danced with her father, who held her a little tighter than necessary. "You're sure about this?" he asked. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." He laughed. "That's my girl." She danced with Adrian next. He was stiff at first, uncomfortable with the public display, even in this small gathering. "Relax," Elena murmured. "They're not going to shoot you for having bad rhythm." "I don't have bad rhythm." "You're holding me like I'm a business associate." He adjusted his grip, pulling her closer. "Better?" "Better." They swayed to music Elena couldn't even name, surrounded by people who were probably already calculating how this marriage would affect their own interests. "Thank you," Adrian said quietly. "For what?" "For saying yes. For giving me a chance to do this right. Don't thank me yet. We haven't made it through the hard part." "What's the hard part?" "Actually being married." He smiled. It was small, barely there, but genuine. "Fair point." The hard part started immediately. Because agreeing to be partners was one thing. Actually functioning as partners when you barely knew each other was something else entirely. The first fight happened on day 3. Elena had assumed she'd stay at her family's estate until they figured out living arrangements. Adrian had assumed she'd move into his place immediately. Neither had communicated these assumptions until Elena showed up at breakfast, still in her childhood bedroom, and Adrian called, confused about why she wasn't at his apartment. "You can't just assume I'm going to abandon my entire life," Elena said, phone pressed to her ear while Bianca listened from the doorway, clearly entertained. "I'm not asking you to abandon anything. I'm asking you to live with your husband. Your apartment is in Moretti territory. Everything I know is here." "Then we'll get a new place. Neutral ground. That's not the point." "Then what is the point?" "The point is you made a decision without me. Again." Silence on the other end of the line. "You're right," Adrian said finally. "I did. I'm sorry." The apology deflated her anger faster than if he'd argued. "Oh. Let's start over. Where would you like to live?" They ended up buying a penthouse halfway between their territories. It took 2 weeks of looking and 3 more weeks of renovations. In the meantime, Elena split her time between the estate and Adrian's apartment, neither place feeling like home. The second fight was about business. Elena had meant it when she said she wanted equal partnership. Adrian had agreed. But when the Moretti family held their first major meeting after the wedding, Adrian didn't invite her. She found out from Marcus, who mentioned it in passing while coordinating security. "What meeting?" Elena asked. Marcus looked uncomfortable. "The one tomorrow, about the port operations." "I wasn't told about a meeting. I'm sure it was just an oversight." It wasn't an oversight. When Adrian came home that night, Elena was waiting. "Were you going to mention the meeting?" she asked. He froze in the doorway. "How did you—" "Doesn't matter how I found out. What matters is you didn't tell me." "It's a Moretti family meeting, internal business. I'm your wife. That makes their business my business." "Elena, no. You don't get to shut me out. We agreed. Partnership, equal say. And things that affect both families, yes. This is specifically about Moretti operations. Operations that are now connected to Virelli interests through our marriage. You think my father won't want to know what's discussed? You think the other families won't assume I'm being briefed?" She crossed her arms. "You're making me look weak. Again." Adrian ran a hand through his hair. "That wasn't my intention." "Your intentions don't matter. Results matter. And the result is I'm being excluded from decisions that affect me." "You're right." What?" "You're right. I wasn't thinking about optics. Wasn't thinking about how excluding you would look." He set his briefcase down. "The meeting is at 10 tomorrow. I'll send you the agenda." "Just like that?" "Just like that." Elena didn't know what to do with an Adrian who admitted he was wrong, who didn't fight her on every point, who actually listened. It was unsettling. The meeting the next day was exactly as tedious as Elena expected. Hours of talk about shipping schedules and port fees and territories she didn't fully understand yet. But she sat through it, asked questions, took notes, and slowly, the men around the table stopped looking at her like she was decoration and started actually addressing her when they spoke. It was a small victory, but it felt enormous. That night, Adrian found her in the study of their new penthouse, surrounded by papers. "You're still working?" he asked, trying to understand the port operations. "The more I know, the more useful I can be." He sat down across from her. "You don't have to prove anything." "Yes, I do. To them. To myself." She looked up. "Maybe to you." "You don't have to prove anything to me." "Don't I? You married me for strategy, to fix the alliance. I need to show I'm worth the trouble." Adrian leaned forward. "Elena, you're not trouble. And this marriage isn't just strategy anymore. Not for me." "What is it then?" He hesitated, then said, "I don't know yet, but I want to find out." Something shifted between them. Something that had been building since the safe house, since the second wedding, since the first time she'd actually believed he might mean what he said. "I want to find out too," Elena admitted. They sat in the study until late, talking about nothing important. report schedules and which furniture still needed to be delivered, and whether the building's security was sufficient. Normal things. Married things. It felt strange, but not bad. 2 months into the marriage, Elena started attending all the family meetings. Not just Moretti meetings, but Virelli ones too. She became the bridge between the families, translating concerns, mediating disputes, finding compromises. She was good at it, better than she'd expected. "You should have been doing this all along," her mother said one afternoon over lunch. "You're a natural." "At what? Playing mediator?" "At leading. You see angles other people miss. You're patient when you need to be and ruthless when that's required." Carla smiled. "Your father is impressed. He won't say it, but he is. And Adrian? What about him? Does he see it? That I'm good at this?" Her mother's expression softened. "Why don't you ask him?" Because asking felt vulnerable. Felt like admitting she cared what he thought, which she did. Increasingly. That was its own problem. She'd married Adrian expecting to build something professional, strategic, a partnership in the business sense. But somewhere along the way, between the late-night conversations and the way he'd started asking her opinion on things that mattered and the small touches that happened without thinking, it had become something else. Something that felt dangerously close to real. Elena didn't know when it had happened. Maybe when Adrian defended her ideas in a meeting with the Moretti captains, even though it meant contradicting his own second-in-command. Maybe when he'd noticed she wasn't sleeping well and bought blackout curtains for their bedroom without being asked. Maybe when she'd found him reading a book on her nightstand just so they could talk about it. Small things, stupid things, things that added up to something terrifying. She was falling for her husband, which was probably how this was supposed to work. Except nothing about their relationship had ever worked the way it was supposed to. "You're thinking too loud," Bianca said. They were having coffee in the penthouse. Bianca had become a regular visitor, citing the superior espresso machine as her excuse. "I'm not thinking anything," Elena lied. "You're thinking about Adrian. How do you get this look? Like you're trying to solve a puzzle, but the pieces don't fit." Elena sighed. "We're actually getting along. It's weird. Most people would consider that a good thing. Most people didn't marry someone who left them at an altar. True, but most people also don't get second chances. You did. Maybe it's okay to actually take it. What if I take it and he runs again? What if you don't take it and spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been?" Elena hated that Bianca was making sense. That night, Adrian came home late. Some meeting that had run long. Elena was already in bed, reading. He stopped in the doorway of the bedroom. "You're still up. Couldn't sleep. Want company?" She set the book aside. "Sure." He changed out of his suit into sleep pants and a t-shirt, slid into bed next to her. They lay there in the dark, not touching, but aware of each other. "Can I ask you something?" Elena said. "Always." "Do you think this is working? The marriage, the partnership, all of it?" Adrian was quiet for a moment. "Honestly? Honestly. I think it's working better than I expected, better than I deserve." "That's not an answer. It's the best answer I have." He turned to face her. "What about you? Do you think it's working?" "I think I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of starting to care, of letting my guard down, of forgetting that you walked away once and could do it again." "I won't." "You can't know that." "Yes, I can, because walking away the first time almost destroyed me. I'm not making that mistake twice." Elena wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this time was different, but trust was fragile, and hers had already been shattered once. "I need time," she said. "To what?" "To figure out if I can actually let myself care about you, without armor, without expecting the worst." Adrian reached out, his hand finding hers in the dark. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." 3 months in, the Castellanos made another move. Not a direct attack this time. Something subtler. They'd started rumors that the Moretti-Virelli alliance was unstable, that Elena and Adrian's marriage was just for show, that cracks were forming. The rumors spread fast. "We need to address this," Elena said during a meeting with both families. "How?" her father asked. We can't exactly disprove gossip. No, but we can control the narrative. She looked around the table. We throw an event, something big, public. Show everyone that we're not just stable, we're stronger than before. What kind of event? Adrian asked. A gala? Charity, maybe? Something that forces the other families to attend, where they can see us together, see that we're united. Marcus frowned. That puts you both in one location, makes you targets. We're already targets, Elena countered. At least this way, we're targets on our terms. The gala was planned for 6 weeks out. Elena threw herself into the preparations, coordinating with event planners and caterers and security teams. Adrian watched her work with something that looked like admiration. You're enjoying this, he observed one night as she reviewed seating charts. I'm good at this. There's a difference. You can be both. She looked up at him. Can I ask you something? You keep looking at me like… She stopped. Like what? Like you're surprised. By me. Adrian sat down next to her. I am surprised. Constantly. You're brilliant and ruthless and somehow kind at the same time. You see solutions I'd never consider. You turn potential disasters into opportunities. He paused. I knew you were smart. I didn't know you were this smart. Elena felt heat rise in her cheeks. Oh. I don't know what to say to that. You don't have to say anything. But she wanted to. Wanted to tell him that she'd been watching him too, noticing the way he'd started asking her opinion before making decisions, the way he defended her to his captains, the way he'd learned how she took her coffee and had it ready in the morning, wanted to tell him she was scared of how much those small things meant. Instead, she said, help me with the seating chart. The Morellis hate the Russos, and I can't figure out how to keep them separated without insulting anyone. They worked together until late, solving problems that didn't matter to anyone but them. And Elena realized this was it. This was what partnership actually looked like. Not grand gestures or dramatic declarations, just two people figuring out how to navigate a complicated world together. The night of the gala, Elena stood in front of the mirror in a dress that had cost more than some cars. Deep emerald green, elegant, powerful. She looked like someone who belonged in this world, maybe because she finally did. Adrian appeared behind her, adjusting his cufflinks. He met her eyes in the mirror. Ready? He asked. No, but let's do it anyway. The gala was held at a hotel that had hosted a dozen similar events. Hundreds of people attended, crime families from across the country, their allies, their enemies, all pretending to be civilized for one night. Elena and Adrian arrived together, walked in together, stood together as they greeted guests. The message was clear, united front. Halfway through the evening, Elena found herself alone for a moment while Adrian dealt with some business. That's when she saw him. A man she didn't recognize, watching her from across the room. Something about the way he looked at her made her skin crawl. She caught Marcus's eye, gestured slightly. He was at her side in seconds. Problem? Who is that? She indicated the man with a subtle nod. Marcus's expression darkened. I don't know. He's not on the guest list. Find out. Marcus moved toward the man who melted into the crowd before he could be reached. Adrian reappeared. What's wrong? Maybe nothing. There was a man. She scanned the room. He's gone now. Describe him. She did. Adrian's jaw tightened. Marcus, he called. They huddled together, keeping their voices low while maintaining appearances. Increase security on Elena, Adrian ordered. I want someone with her at all times. I don't need a babysitter, Elena protested. You need to stay alive. That man, I think I know who he works for. Who? Someone who wants both our families destroyed. Before Elena could ask more, the lights went out. Screaming, gunfire, chaos. Adrian's hand found hers in the dark. Stay close. Marcus was shouting orders. Security was moving. Guests were panicking. Then the lights came back on. And Elena saw why everyone was screaming. 3 bodies on the floor, all from neutral families, shot execution style. And on the wall behind them, written in something that looked disturbingly like blood, This is just the beginning. The hotel ballroom had transformed from elegant gala to crime scene in seconds. People were scrambling for exits. Security was trying to establish perimeter, and Elena stood frozen, staring at the message dripping down the wall. Adrian's grip on her hand tightened. We need to move. Now. Those people are dead. We won't be if we leave. He was already pulling her toward the side exit, Marcus clearing a path ahead of them. Elena's brain caught up with her body. She ran. They made it to the parking garage before the first wave of panic fully hit her. Her hands were shaking. Her breath came in short gasps that had nothing to do with running in heels. Get her in the car, Adrian told Marcus. I'm fine, Elena managed. You're in shock. I said I'm fine. But she let Marcus help her into the SUV anyway because her legs had decided they were done working properly. Adrian slid in next to her. The door had barely closed before the vehicle was moving, tires squealing as they took the exit ramp too fast. What the hell just happened? Elena asked. A message. Adrian was on his phone texting rapidly. Someone wanted to make it very clear they can reach us anywhere, anytime. The 3 people who died weren't random. I recognized 2 of them. They were mediators, people who helped negotiate peace between families. The implications hit Elena like cold water. Someone's trying to start a war. Not trying, succeeding. He finished his text, looked at her. How are you really? Honestly, I don't know. Ask me when I stop shaking. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. They drove in silence for several minutes before Marcus spoke from the front seat. Sir, we have a problem. Another one? The routes to both safe houses are compromised. Someone leaked the locations. Adrian swore. All of them? Every single one? How is that possible? I don't know, but whoever planned this knew exactly where we'd run. Elena's mind was racing despite the shock. They wanted chaos at the gala, wanted us to scatter, because when we run, we're vulnerable, Adrian finished. Isolated. So where do we go? Adrian was quiet for a moment. Then he made a decision. The warehouse district, the old Moretti building on 5th and Harbor. Marcus glanced in the rearview mirror. That place hasn't been used in years. Exactly. Nobody knows about it except family, old family. It's not secure. Everywhere else is less secure right now. They changed direction, heading toward the waterfront. Elena watched the city slide past the windows, trying to process everything that had happened in the last 30 minutes. 3 people dead. A message in blood. Safe houses compromised. This wasn't just an attack. This was orchestrated, planned. Who benefits from a war between the families? She asked. Adrian looked at her. What? The message said this is just the beginning. Someone killed neutral mediators. Leaked safe house locations. They're not trying to take us out directly. They're trying to turn everyone against each other. So who benefits? Someone who wants to pick up the pieces after we destroy each other. Or someone who's already been planning their move and needed us distracted. Elena turned to face him fully. The Castellanos attacked us months ago, then backed off. What if they weren't backing off? What if they were regrouping? You think they're behind this? I think we need to find out who that man was at the gala, the one watching me. Marcus spoke up. I got a partial description to our people. They're running it now. The warehouse was exactly as abandoned as advertised. Broken windows, graffiti on the walls, the kind of place cops avoided because nothing good ever happened there. Perfect. Marcus did a sweep while Adrian and Elena waited in the car. When he gave the all clear, they went inside. The main floor was empty except for some old crates and furniture covered in years of dust. Adrian led them to a back office that still had a working lock. We'll be safe here for tonight, he said. Tomorrow we figure out next moves. Elena looked around the dingy office. This is romantic. I've been told I have a gift for ambiance. Despite everything, the deaths, the danger, the fear, Elena almost smiled. Marcus set up a perimeter alarm system using equipment from the car. I'm going to do another sweep. Lock the door behind me. After he left, Elena sat on an old desk chair that squeaked ominously. Adrian leaned against the wall, still on his phone. Your father's safe, he said after a moment. So is your mother. They got out before the exits were blocked. What about your people? Marcus is coordinating. Everyone's going to ground. He finally looked up from the phone. This is bad, Elena. I know. No, I mean, this is the kind of bad that changes things. That man at the gala, the coordinated attack, the leaked information. Someone inside our organizations is working against us. The words hung heavy in the dusty air. A traitor. How do we find them? Elena asked. Carefully, because if we start accusing people without proof, we create exactly the kind of chaos whoever's behind this wants. So we do nothing? We be smart, paranoid, trust only the people we absolutely know are loyal. How many people is that? Adrian was quiet. Not many. They spent the next hour making calls, coordinating with family members, trying to get a clear picture of the damage. 7 dead total from the gala, not just 3. Dozens injured in the panic. And every family was pointing fingers at every other family. Exactly what someone wanted. Around 3 a.m, Elena's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She showed it to Adrian. The message was simple. Your husband is the problem. Remove him and this ends. Well, Adrian said after reading it, that's direct. You think it's real? An actual offer? I think it's bait. They want to see if you'll turn on me. And if I did, I'd deserve it, and you'd probably be dead within the week anyway. Elena deleted the text. Good thing I'm not that stupid. You're not stupid at all. Adrian sat down on a crate across from her. You're the smartest person I know, which is why I need you to really hear what I'm about to say. That sounds ominous. If this gets worse, if whoever's doing this comes after you directly, I need you to run. Don't wait for me. Don't try to be a hero. Just run. Absolutely not. Elena. No. You don't get to do that. You don't get to tell me to abandon you after everything we've... She stopped, hearing her own words. After everything we've what? Built? Become? After everything we've what? Adrian asked quietly. Elena met his eyes. In the dim light from Marcus's emergency lamp, he looked younger, more vulnerable than she'd ever seen him. After everything we've survived, she finished, I'm not running. Not from you. Not from this. Even if staying gets you killed? Even then. They stared at each other across the dusty office. You're insane, Adrian said. Probably, but that's what you signed up for when you married me. I married you for an alliance. And now? The question sat between them, heavy with implications. Adrian stood, crossed the small space to where she sat. Now I'm married to you because the thought of being married to anyone else makes me want to burn the world down. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. That's depressing. We're in an abandoned warehouse hiding from assassins. Romance isn't really the priority. Isn't it? His hand came up to her face, fingers gentle against her cheek. Because I'm pretty sure keeping you alive is the only priority I have right now. Elena's breath caught. Adrian, he kissed her. Not like in the safe house, angry and desperate. This was different, slower, like he was trying to memorize the moment. When they broke apart, Elena's hands were fisted in his shirt. We should probably talk about this, she said. About what? About the fact that I think I'm falling in love with my husband, and that terrifies me almost as much as the people trying to kill us. Adrian went very still. Say that again. Which part? The falling in love part. I think I'm falling in love with you. I don't know when it happened. Maybe during one of the arguments. Maybe when you actually listened when I said I wanted partnership. Maybe when you bought those blackout curtains. She was rambling now, couldn't stop. And I know this is terrible timing and we're literally running for our lives and there's a traitor somewhere in our organizations, but He kissed her again, harder this time. I'm not good at this, he said when they separated, at feelings, at being vulnerable, at any of it. I noticed, but I need you to know, walking away from you at that altar was the biggest mistake of my life. And every day since you said yes to marrying me anyway, I've been terrified I'd mess it up again. Have you? I don't know, have I? Elena thought about it, about the fights and the compromises and the late nights working together, about learning to trust someone who'd broken that trust spectacularly, about choosing every day to stay. No, she said finally, you haven't. Good. Because I love you. I think I have for a while. I just didn't know how to say it. You're saying it now, I'm saying it now. They kissed again, and this time neither of them pulled away until Marcus knocked on the door, announcing he'd completed the sweep. The moment broke. Reality crashed back. But something had shifted between them, something that made the fear a little more bearable. Morning came gray and cold. Elena woke up on the office floor, using Adrian's jacket as a pillow. He was already awake, talking quietly with Marcus by the window. What's the situation? She asked, sitting up. Mixed, Marcus said. We've identified this man from the gala. His name is Victor Petrov. He's a fixer, works for the highest bidder. So he's not aligned with any one family? Not permanently, but someone paid him very well to be at that gala. Adrian handed her a bottle of water. The question is who? Victor's not talking. He disappeared right after the attack. Can we find him? We're trying, but he's good at what he does. Elena's phone buzzed. Her father. Are you safe? Antonio demanded the second she answered. For now. You? Fine. Angry. Your mother wants to leave the city entirely. That's probably smart. Running isn't smart. Fighting back is smart. Elena could picture him, pacing his study, furious at being put on the defensive. Dad, we don't even know who we're fighting. Then we find out. Fast. Before they make another move. We're working on it. Work faster. The Russos are already talking about breaking the alliance. The Morellis think we planned this to eliminate competition. Everything we've built is falling apart. After she hung up, Elena relayed the conversation to Adrian. He's right, Adrian said. We're running out of time. The families are scared. Scared people make stupid decisions. So what do? We force Victor to talk. How? We don't even know where he is. Marcus cleared his throat. Actually, we might. I have a contact who tracks movement in and out of the city. Victor used a credit card this morning. Gas station on Route 9. He used a credit card? Elena frowned. That's sloppy for someone so careful. Unless he wanted to be found, Adrian said slowly. They looked at each other. It's a trap, Elena said. Definitely a trap. So what? We spring it anyway? You have a better idea? She didn't. 2 hours later, they were parked a block from the gas station Victor had used. The place was run down, barely functional, perfect for an ambush. I don't like this, Marcus said for the third time. Noted, Adrian replied. If we go in there, we get answers. Or we get dead. Either way, we're not sitting around waiting for the next attack. Elena checked her weapon. She'd gotten better with it over the past months. Adrian had insisted on training, and for once she'd been glad he had. I'm coming with you, she said. Absolutely not. Yes, because if this is a trap, you'll need backup. And Marcus can't cover both of us and watch the exits. She's right, Marcus admitted reluctantly. Adrian looked like he wanted to argue, then he just nodded. Stay behind me. If shooting starts, you run. Understood? Understood. They approached the gas station from different angles. Marcus went around back. Adrian and Elena took the front. The place appeared empty. No customers. No attendant visible. Too quiet. They entered slowly, weapons drawn. The interior was dimly lit, shelves barely stocked. A radio played static-filled music from somewhere. Victor, Adrian called out. We know you're here. Silence. Then, from the back room, took you long enough. Victor emerged with his hands raised, mid-40s, unremarkable features, the kind of person who could disappear in a crowd. I'm unarmed, he said. I doubt that, Elena replied. Victor smiled. Smart girl, but I'm not here to fight. I'm here to deal. We don't deal with people who murder innocents, Adrian said. Those people at the gala weren't innocent. They were obstacles, and they weren't my targets anyway. Then who was? You were. Both of you. I was supposed to kill you during the chaos, make it look like crossfire. Elena's grip tightened on her weapon. So why didn't you? Because the person who hired me made a mistake. They showed their hand too early, and I don't like being played any more than you do. Who hired you? Adrian demanded. That's the deal. I tell you who's behind this. You let me walk away. Clean. No retaliation. Give us one reason we shouldn't just shoot you and take our chances. Victor's smile widened. Because the person who hired me, they're standing right behind you. Elena spun. Marcus stood in the doorway, gun pointed directly at them. I'm sorry, he said, and he actually looked it. But it's nothing personal. The betrayal hit Elena like a physical blow. Marcus, Adrian's second in command, the man who'd saved her from the Castellanos, who'd been with them through everything. Why? Adrian's voice was barely controlled. Because the old ways are dying. Because families like yours cling to tradition while the world changes. Because someone offered me a chance to be part of something bigger. Marcus kept the gun steady. The Castellanos, the Russos, the Morellis, you're all the same, fighting over scraps while real power players laugh at you. Who? Elena asked. Who's the real power player? Someone you never saw coming. Someone who's been in your circle the whole time, watching you stumble around playing house. Adrian moved slightly, positioning himself between Elena and Marcus. If you're going to shoot us, just do it. Stop grandstanding. I don't want to shoot you. That's messy. Victor here was supposed to handle it cleanly. Marcus glanced at Victor. But since you decided to betray your contract, Victor moved. Fast. He grabbed Elena, arm around her throat, gun to her head. Nobody moves, Victor said. Or she dies. Adrian froze. Let her go. Can't do that. She's my insurance policy now. Victor started backing toward the rear exit, dragging Elena with him. You want her alive? You let me walk. Don't! Elena managed, despite the arm cutting off her air. Don't let him! Victor tightened his grip. Spots danced in her vision. Adrian's face was pure fury. I will hunt you to the ends of the earth. You'll do nothing. Because you love her. It makes you weak. The gunshot was deafening in the small space. Victor's grip loosened. He crumpled. Elena stumbled forward, gasping. Adrian caught her. Behind them, Marcus still held his smoking gun. What? Adrian started. I said it was nothing personal. And I meant it. Marcus lowered his weapon. Victor was supposed to kill you both. Make it look like he went rogue. I was supposed to heroically try to stop him, but fail. You'd both be dead. I'd look loyal, and the real architect of this whole thing would step into the power vacuum. So why did you shoot him instead of us? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Because I've watched you two for months. Watched you actually build something real. Something that might actually change how this world works. He looked at Elena. And because she asked me once why I was loyal to you, I said it was duty, but that was a lie. It's because I actually believe you might be worth following. This doesn't make sense, Elena said, still catching her breath. If you believe that, why agree to betray us in the first place? Because I needed to know who was really behind this, and the only way to find out was to pretend to be on their side. Marcus holstered his weapon. Now I know, and you're not going to like it. Who? Adrian demanded. Marcus met his eyes. Your cousin, Vincent Moretti. The name hit like a bomb. Vincent, Adrian's closest male relative, the man who'd stood at their second wedding, who'd pledged loyalty to the alliance. That's impossible, Adrian said. It's not. Vincent's been planning this for over a year. He approached me 6 months ago, said the families needed new leadership, said you were too weak, too distracted by… Marcus gestured to Elena. Personal matters. He wanted to unify the families under one banner. By starting a war? By eliminating the old guard and positioning himself as the only one who could bring peace. The attacks, the leaked safe houses, the murders at the gala. All Vincent. He's been playing you from the beginning. Elena's mind was racing. The text I got last night, saying Adrian was the problem, that was Vincent testing my loyalty. And when you didn't take the bait, he moved to plan B. Marcus pulled out his phone, showed them a message. Kill them both. Make it public. I'll handle the fallout. Adrian took the phone, read the message. His expression was unreadable. Where's Vincent now? He asked quietly. Probably at the old Moretti estate, setting up his next move. And the Castellanos, were they working with him? Their first attack was independent, but Vincent used it as an opportunity, encouraged them, then blamed you for the fallout. He's been orchestrating everything to make you look incompetent while positioning himself as the solution. Elena felt sick. How many people know about this? Just Vincent's inner circle, maybe 5 or 6 people total. He kept it small, contained. Marcus looked at them both. And now you. Why tell us? Adrian asked. You could have just followed through, killed us, gotten whatever Vincent promised you. Because what he promised was a lie. He doesn't want to unify the families. He wants to rule them, brutally. And I've done a lot of questionable things in my life, but I'm not signing up for that. They stood in the rundown gas station, Victor's body cooling on the floor, processing the magnitude of the betrayal. Family betraying family. The oldest story in their world. What do we do? Elena asked. Adrian's expression hardened. We end this. Tonight. The old Moretti estate sat on 20 acres outside the city, surrounded by woods thick enough to hide an army. Vincent had chosen his fortress well. Elena sat in the back of the SUV, watching the gates appear through the trees. Her hands were steady now. The fear had burned away, leaving something colder. Clarity. He'll have security, Marcus said from the driver's seat. At least a dozen men, maybe more if he's expecting trouble. He's not expecting us, Adrian said. He thinks Victor handled it. That buys us maybe an hour. Once Victor doesn't check in, then we move fast, Elena spoke up. We need proof, something concrete that shows Vincent's behind everything. Otherwise, it's just our word against his. Adrian turned to look at her. You want to record a confession? I want evidence that will hold up when we present this to the other families. Otherwise, Vincent spins it, makes us look paranoid, desperate. She's right, Marcus said. We need him on record. And how do we get him talking? Elena thought about it, about what she'd learned over the past months navigating family politics, about weakness and leverage and how men like Vincent operated. Me, she said. I'll get him talking. Absolutely not. Listen, Vincent wanted me to turn on you. When I didn't, he decided we both had to die. But what if I show up alone? Tell him I escaped, that you're dead, that I'm ready to make a deal. That's insane. It's smart. Vincent's ego is his weakness. He'll want to gloat, want to explain how clever he's been. And while he's talking, we record everything. Adrian was shaking his head. Too dangerous. If he suspects, then you'll be there, hidden, ready. She grabbed his hand. Trust me, I can do this. They stared at each other. Elena could see him calculating, weighing risks, hating every option. I don't like it, he finally said. You don't have to like it. You just have to trust me. Marcus pulled a small recording device from the glove box. Pin this inside your jacket. It's voice activated. Range is about 50 yards. Elena took it, attached it carefully. Her heart was pounding, but her hands remained steady. If anything goes wrong, Adrian started. It won't. But if it does, you run. Promise me. I promise. It was a lie. They both knew it. The plan was simple. Elena would approach the front entrance alone. Marcus and Adrian would go through the woods, find positions with clear sight lines to the main house. When Elena had enough evidence, she'd give the signal, straightening her collar, and they'd extract her. Simple. Except for all the ways it could go catastrophically wrong. Elena walked up the long driveway, gravel crunching under her feet. Every instinct screamed at her to run. She ignored them. The front door opened before she reached it. Vincent stood there, looking exactly like he always did. Expensive suit, easy smile, the kind of face that belonged in boardrooms or country clubs. He'd always reminded Elena of a politician, polished, practiced, dangerous. Elena, he said, surprise coloring his voice. This is unexpected. Can I come in? He studied her for a moment. She could see him processing, calculating, then he stepped aside. Of course. The interior of the estate was exactly as she remembered from the one time she'd been here before, all dark wood and oil paintings of dead Morettis. Vincent led her to a sitting room with a fire already burning. "Can I offer you something? You look like you've had a difficult day." "You could say that." Elena sat in a chair that had probably cost more than most cars. "Victor's dead." Vincent's expression didn't change. "I heard about the incident at the gas station. Tragic. Adrian killed him after Victor killed Marcus." Now she had his attention. "Marcus is dead?" "Shot trying to stop Victor. It happened fast." The lies came easier than they should have. "Adrian's wounded, badly. I managed to get away in the confusion." "Itim." Vincent sat down across from her. "And you came here?" "I didn't know where else to go. Every safe house is compromised. My father's estate is being watched. I needed—" She let her voice break slightly. "I needed someone I could trust." "And you trust me?" "Your family. Adrian always spoke highly of you." "Did he?" Vincent's smile was pleased. "That's touching, though I wonder if he'd still speak highly if he knew what I've been planning." Elena forced herself to look confused. "Planning what?" "Come now, Elena. You're not stupid. You must have suspected something was wrong. All those convenient attacks, the leaked information, the message about Adrian being the problem. That was you?" "All me. Well, me and a few carefully selected allies." He leaned back, completely relaxed now. Adrian was always too soft, too concerned with honor and tradition. He didn't understand that this world is changing, that the old families either adapt or die. "So you decided to kill him?" "I decided to remove an obstacle. Nothing personal, just business." Vincent poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter. "Though I'll admit, I'm curious why you're here instead of by his side. Even wounded, I'd expect his wife to stay close." This was the dangerous part, the moment where her story had to land perfectly. "Because he's not my husband anymore," Elena said quietly. "Not really. We both knew the marriage was strategic, and now that the strategy has failed," she met Vincent's eyes. "I'm a survivor. I know when to cut my losses." Vincent studied her. "You expect me to believe you've just abandoned him, after months of playing the devoted wife?" "I expect you to believe I'm practical. Adrian is finished. His leadership is questioned. The alliance is falling apart. And I'm not going down with a sinking ship." She leaned forward. "You're going to take over. Unify the families. I'd rather be on the winning side. And what do you bring to the table? Information, access to Varelli operations, my father's trust, and—" She paused. "I know where Adrian is hiding." Vincent's eyes glittered. "Do you now?" "I'll tell you, in exchange for protection, and a position when you take power." "A position. I'm good at this. You know I am. I navigated family politics better than Adrian ever could. I turned what should have been a disaster into something that almost worked." She kept her voice steady. "Use me. Let me help you build whatever comes next." Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Elena could practically hear him thinking, weighing whether to believe her. "Why should I trust you?" he finally asked. "Because I'm offering you exactly what you wanted. Adrian isolated, vulnerable, easy to eliminate, and the Varelli alliance delivered on a platter." She met his gaze without flinching. "You don't have to trust me. You just have to use me. Isn't that what you've been doing with everyone else?" He laughed. Actually, laughed. "You're smarter than I gave you credit for." "Most people make that mistake. Adrian certainly did. Walking away from you at the altar was the smartest thing he ever did. Too bad he went back on it." Vincent stood, walked to the window. "Tell me where he is. First, I want guarantees. Written, that I'll be protected when this goes public." "You're not in a position to make demands." "Yes, I am, because without me, you're just going to chase shadows. Adrian knows you're coming now. He'll run, hide, make this messy." Elena stood as well. "I can give him to you cleanly, but I want insurance." Vincent turned from the window. "You know, when I first heard about your wedding, the real one, the second one, I thought Adrian had lost his mind, getting attached to a weakness. But now I see it. You're not a weakness. You're an asset he never deserved. So we have a deal? We have a deal? I'll have my lawyer draw up the paperwork. He moved closer. But first I need to know I can trust you. Really trust you. How? Tell me where Adrian is, right now. No guarantees, just your word against his life. Elena felt the recorder against her chest. Had she gotten enough? Vincent had confessed to orchestrating the attacks, to planning Adrian's death. But nothing specific, nothing concrete about the gala or the murders. She needed more. What exactly did you do? She asked. I mean, I know you leaked the safe houses, but the gala, those people who died, was that always part of the plan? Vincent smiled. You want to know if I'm a monster? I want to know what I'm aligning myself with. Fair enough? He sat back down, gestured for her to do the same. The gala was perfect. All the families in one place. Create chaos. Kill a few mediators who were too good at preventing wars. Make it look like random violence. Then point fingers. The Morettis blame the Russos. The Castellanos see opportunity. Everyone turns on each other. And you step in as the solution. Exactly. Unite the families under someone strong. Someone not held back by sentiment or outdated codes of honor. He leaned forward. The old ways are dying, Elena. Men like Adrian, like your father, they're dinosaurs. They don't see that real power isn't about respect or tradition. It's about control. Fear. Making sure everyone knows what happens when they step out of line. And the people at the gala? They were just collateral damage? They were obstacles, just like Adrian, just like anyone who doesn't understand that the world has changed. Vincent's expression was almost gentle. You do understand, don't you? That's why you're here instead of with him. Elena felt sick, but she kept her face neutral. I understand. Good. Then we won't have any problems. He stood again. Now, where's my cousin hiding? This was it. The moment she had to decide, give up Adrian's location and blow her cover, or find a way to stall until she could signal. He's at the old warehouse on 5th and Harbor, she said. Marcus took us there last night. Adrian's hurt, bleeding. He won't last long without medical attention. Vincent pulled out his phone, started typing. I'll send men immediately. You'll find it empty. He looked up. What? I said you'll find it empty. Because Adrian's not stupid enough to stay there once I left, and I'm not stupid enough to betray him. Understanding flashed across Vincent's face, then rage. The recording, he said. You've been recording this whole conversation. Every word. Vincent moved fast, grabbing her arm and yanking her to her feet. You think you're clever? You think this changes anything? Well, I think it changes everything. Every family in the city is going to hear what you did, what you planned. How you murdered innocent people for power. They'll never hear it because you're not leaving this room alive. He pulled a gun from his jacket, pressed it against her ribs. Elena straightened her collar. The window exploded. Adrian came through in a shower of glass, weapon raised. Let her go. Vincent spun, using Elena as a shield. Stay back. Oh, let her go and I'll let you live. We both know that's a lie. Vincent was backing toward the door, dragging Elena with him. She dies first, then you. Then I spin this however I want. No, you don't. Marcus appeared in the doorway, blocking the exit. It's over, Vincent. You're supposed to be dead. Plans change. Vincent's gun pressed harder against Elena's ribs. She could feel his desperation. Cornered men were the most dangerous kind. Everyone just calm down, she said. Nobody else has to die. Shut up, Vincent hissed. Adrian took a step closer. You were right about one thing. The old ways are dying. But not because they're weak. Because people like you poison them. Use them as an excuse for cruelty. Don't you dare lecture me about cruelty. My father was a monster. I know that. I've spent my whole life trying not to become him. Trying to build something better. Adrian's voice was steady. But you're worse than he ever was. Because you pretend it's about progress, about evolution, when really you're just another thug with ambition. And what are you? A man who abandoned his bride at the altar, Who only came back because it was convenient? No. I'm a man who made a mistake and spent every day since trying to fix it. A man who learned that love isn't weakness. It's the only thing that makes any of this worth it. Vincent laughed. You're pathetic. Maybe, but I'm also still standing, and you're about to lose everything. I have a gun to your wife's ribs. I'm not the one losing. Elena had been waiting for an opening. Any moment where Vincent's attention split. This was it. She drove her elbow backward into his stomach hard as she could. Vincent's grip loosened. She dropped, rolled away. Adrian's shot was perfect. Vincent's gun clattered to the floor. He clutched his shoulder, blood seeping through his fingers. It's over, Adrian said again. Marcus moved in, kicked Vincent's weapon away, secured him with zip ties from his pocket. Elena stood on shaking legs. Adrian was there immediately, hands on her face, checking for injuries. Are you okay? He asked. I'm fine. The recorder, did it get everything? Marcus checked his phone, which had been receiving the audio feed. Every word, Vincent confessing to the gala, the murders, all of it. Good. Elena looked down at Vincent, who was bleeding and furious on the expensive carpet. Because I want every family to hear exactly what he did. Vincent glared at her. You have no idea what you've done. The chaos this will cause will be temporary, and then we'll rebuild. Better this time, without people like you. They called the authorities, the specific ones who were actually legitimate and not on anyone's payroll. Then they called the family heads, all of them. By morning, Vincent's confession had been distributed to every major organization on the East Coast. The evidence was undeniable. The fallout was immediate. Vincent's allies scattered. The families who'd been questioning the Moretti-Varelli alliance fell back in line. The Castellanos, already weakened, withdrew entirely. It wasn't neat, wasn't clean. There were still consequences to deal with. Relationships to rebuild, trust to restore. But the immediate threat was gone. 3 days later, Elena stood in the penthouse kitchen, making coffee and trying to process everything that had happened. The recording, the confrontation, the fact that she'd walked into Vincent's estate fully prepared to die if it meant stopping him. Adrian appeared in the doorway, looking better than he had in days. The strain was still there, but underneath it was something that looked like hope. Your father called, he said. Wants to schedule a meeting. All the families. Discuss new terms. And I think we should go together, present a united front, show them this alliance is real. Elena poured 2 cups of coffee, handed him one. It is real. I know, but they need to see it. They stood in the kitchen, drinking coffee, not talking about the trauma or the danger or how close they'd come to losing everything. Later, there would be time for that. For processing, for healing. Right now, they just stood together. Partners, equals, alive. The meeting with the families happened a week later, in the same restaurant where Elena and Adrian had worked out the terms of their second marriage. Full circle. Every major family sent representatives. The room was tense, suspicious, everyone waiting to see what would happen next. Elena and Adrian walked in together, sat at the head of the table together. Antonio Varelli started the meeting. Vincent Moretti's betrayal affected all of us. The question is what we do now. We rebuild, Adrian said. The alliance between the Morettis and Varellis stands, stronger now than before. And what guarantee do we have that this won't happen again? One of the Russo representatives asked. Elena spoke up. You don't. There are no guarantees in our world. But what you can have is transparency, accountability. We're proposing a council, representatives from each family, real oversight, real consequences for anyone who acts against the collective good. That's a pretty thought, someone else said. But councils can be corrupted too. They can, Elena agreed, but doing nothing guarantees corruption. At least this way we're trying. The debate went on for hours. Some families were resistant, others cautiously supportive. By the end, they had the framework of something new, not perfect, but better. As they left, Elena's father pulled her aside. You did well in there, he said. Thanks. I mean it. You've changed, grown into this. Elena thought about it. About the girl who'd stood at an altar expecting nothing but strategy. About everything that had happened since. "I had to," she said. "Nobody else was going to do it for me." Her father smiled. "That's my daughter." 6 months later, the council was functioning. Imperfectly. There were still disputes, still power struggles, but there was also dialogue, compromise, the beginnings of something that might actually last. Elena had become the primary mediator, the one families called when tensions rose. She was good at it, better than good. Adrian had stepped back from some of his father's more brutal practices, redirected the family interest toward legitimate business. It was slower, less profitable in some ways, but sustainable. Their marriage had settled into something Elena had never expected, actual partnership. They fought sometimes, disagreed often, but they did it as equals, as people who'd chosen each other despite everything. One night, Elena came home to find Adrian on the balcony of their penthouse, looking out at the city. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, joining him. "How different things could have been. If I'd just gone through with the first wedding, if I hadn't run, we wouldn't be here. I know, we'd probably be miserable, going through the motions, but you wouldn't have almost died, wouldn't have been put through all of that." Elena took his hand. "I wouldn't change it." "Really?" "Really. Because yes, it was terrifying and painful, and there were moments I thought I'd never survive." She looked at him. "But I'm stronger now. We both are. And what we built, it's ours, not something arranged by our fathers or dictated by tradition. Ours." "I love you," Adrian said. "I don't say it enough. You say it every time you ask my opinion, every time you actually listen, every time you choose me." She smiled. "Words are easy. Actions matter more." "When did you get so wise?" "When I had to survive being married to you." He laughed, pulled her closer. They stood on the balcony as the city lights flickered on below. 2 years after the second wedding, Elena was pregnant. The news terrified them both. Bringing a child into their world felt impossible, dangerous, selfish, but also hopeful. "We can make it better," Elena said, one hand on her growing stomach. "For her, for the next generation." "How do you know it's a girl?" "I just do." She was right. Their daughter was born on a Tuesday morning in March. 7 pounds, dark hair, lungs that could wake the dead. They named her Sophia, not after anyone, just because they liked it. Adrian held his daughter for the first time and cried. Elena had never seen him cry before. "She's perfect," he whispered. "She's a person. She'll be complicated and difficult and impossible sometimes." Elena smiled. "But yeah, she's pretty great." "I'm terrified." "Good. That means you'll be a good father." They brought Sophia home to a penthouse that had been baby-proofed within an inch of its life. Security was tripled. Plans were made for every possible emergency. But underneath the fear was something else, something Elena had never expected to feel in this life. Joy. Sophia grew up surrounded by love and security and the occasional visit from very dangerous people who brought inappropriate gifts and treated her like royalty. She learned early that her world was different, that her parents' work was complicated, that the word family meant something bigger and more complicated than most people understood. But she also learned that her mother was brilliant and fierce, that her father was strong but gentle, that love could exist even in the darkest places. On Sophia's 5th birthday, Elena watched her daughter run around the penthouse, laughing, completely unaware of the careful balance required to keep her safe. "What are you thinking?" Adrian asked, appearing at her side with cake plates. "That we did something right. We did a lot of things wrong first. But we got here eventually." Elena looked at him. "Do you ever think about the altar, the first time?" "Sometimes. Do you regret it?" Adrian was quiet for a moment. "I regret hurting you. I regret the way I handled it. But do I regret that it forced us to rebuild from nothing, to choose each other every day instead of just accepting an arrangement?" He shook his head. "No, I don't regret that." "Good answer. I've had years to practice." They watched Sophia blow out her candles, make a wish, dive into cake with the enthusiasm only children could manage. And Elena thought about everything she'd survived, the humiliation, the fear. The moment she'd stood in Vincent's estate, fully prepared to die. All of it had led here, to this moment, this life. Not perfect, never perfect, but theirs. Years later, when Sophia was older and asking questions about how her parents met, Elena told her the truth, not the sanitized version, the real one. "Your father left me at the altar in front of 300 people," she said. Sophia's eyes went wide. "He did?" "He did, and I hated him for it, for months. So how did you end up married?" "Because sometimes the worst thing that happens to you teaches you who you actually are, and what you're actually capable of." Elena smiled. "Your father running taught me I was stronger than I knew. Coming back taught him vulnerability isn't weakness. And building something together taught us both that love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing to stay even when it's hard. That's not very romantic." "No, but it's real, and real is better." Sophia thought about this. "I'm glad he came back." "Me too, baby. Me too." In the end, Elena and Adrian's story wasn't about a perfect love conquering all obstacles. It wasn't about destiny or fate or souls that were meant to be together. It was about two broken people who made terrible choices, hurt each other, and then decided to do better. To be better. It was about learning that strength isn't refusing to feel. It's feeling everything and choosing to act anyway. It was about understanding that the person who destroys you can also be the person who rebuilds you, if you're both willing to do the work. Their empire grew, not through fear, but through respect. The families they led became known for keeping their word, for innovation, for actually caring about the people in their territory beyond what they could extract from them. It wasn't revolutionary, but it was different, and different was enough. On their 10th anniversary, Adrian took Elena back to the chapel where they'd married the second time. "What are we doing here?" she asked. "I wanted to see it again. The place where you said yes even though you shouldn't have." "I should have. I just didn't know it yet." They stood in the empty chapel, remembering. "If you could go back," Adrian said, "knowing everything that would happen, would you still say yes?" Elena didn't hesitate. "Every time. Would you?" "Every time." They kissed in the empty chapel, 10 years and a lifetime removed from the moment they'd first stood there. And Elena realized something she hadn't understood back then. Love wasn't the thing that made you weak. Fear of love was. Adrian had learned that lesson the hard way. So had she. But they'd learned it. Together. And that made all the difference.